I might pass over to Kyla, to do an acknowledgement of country.
Hi, my name's Kyla. I'm the coordinator of the Gellibrand Community House. I'd like to welcome you. It's probably my voice, yeah, and I don't have.
Just hold it close when you go.
Okay. My name's Kyla. I'm the coordinator of the Gellibrand Community House. And I'd like to welcome you to the hall on behalf of the Community House and the Hall Committee. It's been a big month, long time, seems to blur, big day. I want to acknowledge the work that everyone's done, all the volunteers, all the fireys and the amazing work that everyone's done. But I'd also like to acknowledge our country. I'd just like to acknowledge the pain that it's going through and the love that we have for it, and the traditional owners that live here and have cared for it for all these millennia. I hadn't prepared any of this, but I just think this is really important. We love this country and it's the backbone of where we are and who we are. So, welcome to Gellibrand. Thank you. All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Kyla. It's a beautiful part of the world. So, thanks everyone for coming. I'd just like to acknowledge, there's a number of agencies in the room, and I'll give a bit of an overview of who's here and who's going to speak today. I'd also like to acknowledge our Mayor, Jason Schramm. Thank you, Mayor, for coming. The purpose of today is it's relatively informal. We want to give an update on the fire situation and what's happened and where the agencies are heading with that. So Paul will stretch. We'll give an update, and then I think Colac Area Health. We've got Dr. Roth that just wanted to say a few words about mental health support. And then we've got, we'll open it up to questions. We've got a range of agencies here that can answer questions. But just to acknowledge who we do have here, the Incident Controller, Trevor Dest. Thanks, Trevor. We've got the CFA, Peter Lockwood, David Scoble, and obviously the Gellibrand CFA brigade members who we pass on our thanks and gratitude for all the work that you've done on the ground. Victoria Police, Michael Reid and Ray Dunson. Thanks, guys. Barwon Water, Shane Fowles and Joshua Friedman. They can give an update on where things are at with water supply. AgVic, Adrian Murray. Emergency Recovery Victoria, Sue Pigden. We've got an apology from Tony Robinson, who's the CFA Gellibrand Brigade Captain. So Tony wanted us to pass that on. So we'll get into it. I'll pass over to Paul to give an update.
Thank you. Hello. Sorry. I don't like microphones. I guess from an operational perspective, I'll personally just introduce myself and the role that I'm playing. I've been at the Gellibrand divisional point for the last couple of days as a divisional commander, so effectively looking after all the resources that are on the ground still around the fire. So previous to that, Stu Gardner was in there for many days. Many of you would know Stu, did a fantastic job in there as a divisional commander, so he's currently out having a few days well-earned rest as well. So, from an operational perspective, I guess it's a relief to be able to say to you that the operational tempo has definitely backed off a little bit, which means that things have quietened down around the fire over the last couple of days in particular. The weather has been supportive of that, but certainly the firefighting effort and the efforts of all of you in the community has helped immensely with that as well. So I normally talk to a map, but I don't have one, so you'll have to bear with me, but I think you're all pretty familiar with the area that we're talking about. So I won't talk about specifics. I can talk to that briefly afterwards if somebody would like to, but around the fire ground, it's a lot quieter on the ground, and effectively firefighters are now only dealing with the multitude of hot spots that we're finding both on the edge of the fire and internal of the fire areas. So across the day, today we've got almost 150 firefighters and other staff working on the fire ground. So right around. We have 3 sectors now. We've consolidated what we call the sectors around the geographical area of the fire. We have what's called the Gellibrand North sector, the Gellibrand South sector, and the Carlisle sector, which picks up all across the southern side of the fire and up the western side of the fire. So we have numerous firefighters still operating in all of those sectors today. And they're basically in there, both from aircraft. We have 4 aircraft still attached to the fire. Aircraft are identifying through thermal imaging and flying, they're identifying hotspots. Our crews on the ground are identifying hotspots, and you guys in the community are calling in hotspots as well. And we still have a system that as soon as those are reported to us, we're getting those firefighters as quickly as we can to those hotspots. Generally what we're finding, it's a stump burning in the ground, or it's a little piece of unburnt that's flared up and might be burning a small area, but we certainly need to stay vigilant in that space. There's a lot of unburnt ground adjacent to the burnt ground, and that still has the potential to get going. So I guess the main message is there, please continue to do what you do. If you see something that's smoking or is hot or is started to look like it might get going, place those calls in. We have what's called an area of operations, which means that around the fire area there's a designated area. So if you call 000 because you see something of concern related to the fire, that call goes to the Incident Control Centre, and that will then immediately, rather than responding 5 tankers from the CFA, it will respond to firefighters that are on the ground right now to get to that hotspot immediately. So we still have crews working across the night, and as I said, we have aircraft still attached to the fire that can respond immediately with helitacs as well, the aerial bombing helicopters. We also have some other phases of the operation that are occurring at the moment. For a number of days now, we've had what's called the fallback line division, which means we've got about 15 to 20 pieces of plant, so dozers and mulchers and slashers working, and no doubt you would have seen that work all around, particularly the west and southern sides, but right around the fire, and they are actually working on consolidating and increasing the strategic fallback lines in the event that, considering we're only halfway through the summer, that something untoward occurs, that we have those fallback lines as well. So you will have seen that work occurring. A good example is what you see just up the main road here, where there's machinery working at the moment. So that work's occurring, and then the next phase of the operation, which is the recovery and stabilisation work, is beginning to kick off, and I'm sure there's lots of questions around that will come into the other agencies in the planning around, but there's been processes put in place around how you can communicate that gets finally down to us on the ground and start getting that work done as well. So, I guess from an outlook, from a weather perspective, there's nothing in the foreseeable future that raises major alarm bells with us. There's no elevated spike days in the weather. We're looking at sort of reasonably mild, moderate weather conditions over the next number of days. Southerly winds, which is all favourable to us to continue to do the work that we do and endeavour to keep the fire where we want it to be, which is pretty well out. The one thing I will say, there is no rainfall on the foreseeable future, as we all know, and that is of some concern, considering that it is going to need reasonable rainfall across this fire ground to put out the fire. That's the reality. We will continue to find hotspots into the future until we get some moisture on it. Every time we find a hotspot, we'll put it out, but it's finding them and putting them out that is the challenge at times. So just we all need to remain vigilant, because at the moment, with no rainfall on the forecast, there is still potential with this fire. So, the one other message I had, just from an operational perspective, I really do appreciate the assistance, the way that you guys have worked in with our firefighters under challenging conditions for you to be patient with them. There's a lot of firefighters accessing your yards, your backyards, your driveways, your properties. As we go into the next phase, obviously we're going to be working with you and the other agencies in getting fences back up and all that sort of thing. I'm encouraging my firefighters to be patient with that. There's going to be areas where they've been accessing to do the job they've been doing that will become more challenging because you put fences up, you want to put fences up. I'm asking them to be really open to the communications with you to work through that. If they do need to get to a spot that needs to be worked on, identify other ways to get into it or whatever it might be, but to communicate, open communication with you to make sure that that's happening. And if it's not, please come back through the chain and we can get messages back to those firefighters as well. I reckon that's probably my time, Ian. Francis.
Stretch. You talked about hotspots. I just want to let people know we actually have maps of the fire in that room, and we've got a map of the hotspots. Obviously, they change regularly, and that was from yesterday. There's also a map there of the where the water was dropped over the fire grounds. If anyone's interested, so we do have maps.
Thanks, Francis. Francis was just saying there's maps up the back of what we call the AIG hotspot mapping, which is the aerial imagery that comes down and shows us the hotspots. So if people are interested, they can look at those up the back. There's also where the water was dropped. A lot of water was dropped around the fire. If people are interested. The one thing I would say about the AIG hotspots, it's a great tool. It doesn't find all the hotspots. So when our crews go in to find hotspots from the AIG, they're finding other hotspots. So it is just part of the arsenal of tools that we use for that. But thanks, Francis. Cool.
I'll have a chat about the support available through Bowen Health.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Roth Tristan. I'm a psychiatrist by training, and I'm a clinical director of the mental health services at Bowen Health. And together with Colac Area Health, we provide services along the mental health services to this region as well, through Colac Otway regions. And for those of you who may not be aware, we run a Headspace Colac at Colac, and that serves 12 to 25-year-old population. But we also have a tertiary services or specialized services for all age range from 0 to essentially 65 plus. In Colac as well, and we do outreach services, so that's where I'll start. I just would like to, acknowledge that there's a lot of loss and disruptions in this area, and we've been monitoring from Bowen Health and together with our colleagues in Colac Area Health about what's been happening and what supports we might be able to provide, practical or otherwise, as well as the mental health interventions. It's times like this with loss and disruption, I suppose it does shake a lot of our uncertainty and brings about fear, emotions, various range of unpredictability, and perhaps shake a sense of safety overall. What the message that I would like to provide is that there comes with a lot of reactions with these things, and not all of them are illness or pathology. There's a range of normal behavior, feelings of loss, feeling of grief, feeling of irritability, feeling of unpredictability or sense of anxiety, or just being normal in general, just feeling that everything is okay, just wanting to get back to normal quickly as possible, focusing on practical stuff. These are all normal experiences that people can have. And there's no linear way, there's no certain pathway that people normally take. But we do know that certain things can affect along the way, and distress can happen at various points in time. Often it takes weeks or months for it to actually kick in. And regardless of our trajectory, the most important thing at this point in time is not therapy, it's not really help, it's not really medications in a way, it's actually our community. What I find the most important thing is being connected to those around us that helps really overcome this period of time. There are various things that we should do at this period of time, is to actually look after ourselves. It's really very important that I know a lot of us are trying to get back into community and just get back to normal and doing practical stuff and prevention or protecting property. It's important to look after yourselves along the way as well, and keeping track of your routines and touching base with each other. I think those are very important. The mental distress and mental illness are separate things. I think I would like to sort of emphasize that mental illness often comes much later. Mental distress is normal, but prolonged mental distress can lead to mental illness. How I like to actually think about it sometimes is about all of us have got common cold before, there's sore throat or runny nose, we've experienced those. Those are normal part of being unwell, and we get over it very quickly. And that can be just a normal emotions that we get through experiencing something quite difficult or quite serious incidents like this. And then there are periods of time where there are periods of time where we actually have to take time off because the temperature, fever is getting too high, 38, 39, we just have to take time off. And that's what sometimes I equate to sort of mental distress, that you just need to take some time off. But if you don't actually intervene at those times or take a break and just keep pushing on, as some of us do, we can get a much more prolonged period of illness, and some of us might require hospitalization and all that. What I'm saying, then that's where mental illness comes in. And that's generally the trajectory, and it takes some time. We all build differently, and we all have different level of tolerance. Sometimes it takes one little thing to actually snap for us. That a little thing can actually trigger that we become really distressed, and I've seen people who were seemingly well, like in the morning, and at night, they're really, really in distress. Whereas others I've actually seen that it's actually a gradual build-up of things over time. It all varies, and they're all normal experiences, and they're all manageable. What I think is important is that we try and intervene early, if possible, if you are feeling that you are, something's not quite right, and that's normally how I'll describe it. And it can be you're sadder than usual, or you're more irritable than usual, you're more short-tempered than usual. You can't sleep as well, you're waking up intermittently, you can't think as clearly as you would, like operating certain things, and then you're just like, I'm just struggling with this, and you're seeing that pattern. You might want to seek some support, or check in with a friend, or check in with family, and saying that it's what I'm experiencing normal, it's what I'm doing normal. We might just need to kind of like have a chat with you, and then and explore what options we can actually support in a way. It doesn't always translate to hospital or medications. In fact, that's the last thing I'd actually like people to do, is actually on medications or hospitalization. So we're here, and we do have a 24/7 triage line that's available, and it's on our website. It's also on Colac Area Health Services, I'm pretty sure. Reach out at any point in time if you require support. We have a walk-in availability as well within Colac. We can go out to your properties if need be and provide any support. I do apologize that I do have to step away early, but I'm happy to take any questions. That's all right. Yeah.
I find, for instance, that medical services through my doctor is very slow, and they usually do a referral to a psychologist or your services.
Yes.
So I don't even get to base one because they can't even get the referral to your services. So how do I actually go straight to you to get those services rather than going through another process that usually they say, well, to see a doctor, it will take you 3 weeks to make an appointment. So the step in between doesn't work for us. And it just leads to frustration, and I think that needs to improve.
Sure, thank you, appreciate that, the feedback. You're welcome to contact us directly. So referral to our tertiary services do not require a GP. So you can call out the number and refer directly yourself, saying that you require support. And we have emphasized to our teams as well that there's been a lot of events that happen in the community. We need to provide more, not just, I think sometimes with tertiary services, we are used to dealing with acute support of tertiary service. We are now saying that we want to pivot towards preventative care, and you're welcome to contact us or leave your details, and we'll have a chat with you. Any questions that I'm for myself that I'm happy to answer? Thank you.
Perspective, just wanted to give a really quick update on the recovery process. Obviously, we've still got an active fire, but we are starting to transition into recovery. So all the agencies are doing a lot of work on setting that structure up. Importantly, it needs to be a community-led recovery process. So you'll hear from us sort of in the coming days, coming weeks about what that structure looks like and how we best engage with the community. But we're really conscious that does need to be a community-led recovery process. So, I guess the other couple of things I just wanted to make mention of is, firstly, again, thanks to the multiple of agencies that have done an amazing job on the ground. Things could have been a whole lot worse. Thankfully, they weren't. I think we've got an amazing community here, right across Colac Shire, but we've got an amazing community in Gellibrand and around Gellibrand, Carlisle, really resilient, and it's really come to the fore over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So just a thank you to everyone. Colac Area Health wanted just to mention that they're here today, can help out with things like blood pressure checks, wound treatments, anything like that. So we've got Sam here from Colac Area Health. If anyone needs to be checked up, Sam can help you out there. So, are there any other agencies that wanted to provide a quick update on where things are at? Bowen Water?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Carly. I'm the product quality section lead at Bowen Water, so my expertise is in water quality, but I can definitely link you to anything more customer focused. But yeah, I just would like to start by acknowledging the tireless work of emergency services that allowed us to get back into site as soon as possible and start to restore our services. And also an emergency response like this doesn't happen without external support. We have lots of external partners that helped us and continue to help us. I'll mention a few. Richardson's, ALS, LCW, Auswide Plumbing, Otway Civil and Think Water. But most of all, big thanks to the Gellibrand community for your patience while we did work to restore safe drinking water supply. You might have seen we've had some staff here over the last few days, linking people to services, and that support is here again today. So if you have any questions, please do link to them, and we'll get you that support. To give you a bit of an overview of what we were working on over the past week. We started with a situation where, on the day of the fire impact, we were carting water in to supplement the high demand in the town. But then that needed to stop, and when our treatment plant was impacted by fire, that meant that we weren't able to get safe access, and due to damage to the treatment plant, it wasn't able to continue to independently treat and supply water like it normally would. We needed to wait to get access to do some inspections, and we knew because of not having access that would mean that the system would depressurise, which is an issue. It can create the risk of some contaminants getting in, so that meant we did need to put the do not drink advisory on as a precautionary measure. We were really pleased to be able to get access. Fortunately, the damage to the treatment plant was quite minimal in the scheme of things. So it was a construction site. We'd been doing an upgrade to increase the capability of the plant, but also the new building where the majority of the infrastructure was designed to the highest attack rating. So that came through the fire unscathed, and it really just meant that we needed to fix up some piping on site, and then we were able to resume carting into the treatment plant, which restored water supply, and so we were able to have a supply there while we worked on making sure that it was safe to drink, flushed the system and did our water quality sampling, and then able to get the okay to lift the advisory, and hopefully water supply is from your end normal, and we will continue to work on repairing the treatment plant. We've got a raw water tank to replace, which we've been doing, so we'll fill that back up, do some flushing, do some testing, and get it going as it normally would to supply the town. So that's sort of the journey we've been on. Whilst we were doing that, obviously we provided the temporary drinking water supply, and that supply continues to be available in the town for those that aren't connected to our drinking water service, as well as there's a few fill points as well. And our team can put you in touch if you need access to, there's a couple of things. There's a grant to cover, there's a rebate up to $1,500 to cover tank cleaning and roof gutter cleaning. And there's also there's also a grant to get a tank refill as well. So yeah, please do come speak to us if either of those things could help you today. Thank you.
I'm Lorna Jemmett, might know me. I'd just like to say to every single agency in this room how you work together seamlessly to put this fire, well, as best as we can to put it out. The only way is going to be rain. And you've all worked and supported this community and Carla River and Colac. And we really, really appreciate that we can still go, well, most of us can still go back to our home. And we've got the pub, we've got the store, we've got the community house still, and we've still got our community. So I really would like to thank everybody that's been involved, and we really are so grateful to you all. Thank you.
Thanks for those kind words. I'll ask Sue from Emergency Recovery Victoria to come up and just say a couple of words.
Thank you, Anne. Good morning, everyone, and this is my second visit here, but I think it's going to be the second of many visits that I'll be making to the community house. But I wanted to give you an idea of how the state actually structures up to support recovery, because I want to say normally I've got a regional role, which means that it has to be more than one council, it has to be, a fair complexity. Otherwise, from a relief and recovery, it really is a local government responsibility, and we sort of support from the back. This is not normal. We've had floods, you've had a fairly complex fire, and we are working very closely with Colac Otway Shire to help with some of increased resourcing through to looking at how we structure up. From a governance point of view, we'll put in place a relief and recovery committee, which we make sure we've got around the table all the right agencies. And we will have a member of community, we think, on that committee. The first meeting will be next Wednesday. There is already a couple of community members who sit on what's called a Municipal Emergency Management Committee, a MEMC, and as a start point, but at some stage it will be devolved down to how the community actually wants to organise themselves with a community recovery committee. And that may be that you decide you don't want a formal committee, or you want a couple of groups looking at specific things, whether that's mental health, whether that's the impact to farming community or the business community. So there's no one right way to do it. We've seen models where essentially some of the existing community groups have a rep that sits on a community recovery committee, and we've seen it in Mallacoota where they actually had a formal voting system where people put up their hand and nominated to be on that committee. So there's no one right way to do it, and it's very much listening to you as a community as to how you want that to proceed. If I can just give you one really clear number and message, there's a recovery hotline, and that's 1800 560 760. And I'll be hanging around after the meeting, so please come and talk to me. But it's a recovery hotline, and that will point you towards any recovery programs and supports that you might be eligible for. So some of the programs you may not be eligible for, and I know that there's a state clean up program, for example, but it really is focused on people who've lost their primary place of residence. and not people who've lost their, bush bolt hole or similar, which is really been the impact in this area and with this fire, fortunately in a way, but still a sad loss for those people because, as one guy said, but that was my happy place. So we understand, and we understand there's a longer term impact to the community where those people may not have a place to come back to that they've regularly come to on weekends and so forth. So please, I will be here after the meeting and follow me up if you've got any specific questions, unless there's one from the floor I can answer right now.
Yes, I've got a question. I'm Max Legalines. I'm from the Committee of Management from the Community House. My issue, like a lot of other people here who live in the community, is how we manage a recovery centre. You can see the things here. They come here every day. We have to find ways of distributing them to people in the community. We don't have control over what comes to us. They come from different agencies. There's an abundance of things that we can't use. There's abundance of things that are really useful.
Yeah.
But we have no input as to what comes to us and how it comes to us.
Yeah.
This centre that we've created, and all these good people here who come here every day, work very hard at trying to meet the needs of the community. They're going to burn out.
Yeah.
They're not going to keep on going. They've been here for, usually we find it lasts for a week if people can make that contribution. Then the community starts unfolding a little bit as time goes on. So having a committee is perfect, I agree with you, but it's not going to deal with the immediate things that we're facing at the moment.
Yeah.
And we have to address that and do something sustainable.
Yeah.
Because I can't see how we can continue this way.
No, and you're quite right. So, for example, at Rochester, after the floods in 22, there was a neighbourhood house that was virtually what you've got here, the community house that people all came to. And the council decided to put a recovery centre, so that sort of recovery hub where information was available to people at a different location, close to, but a different location. It actually didn't work because the community was used to going to the neighbourhood house. So the decision then, and what we'll be looking at probably in our very first meeting on Wednesday, is what do we need to do to make sure that the people who are running this get the support they need so that it is sustainable and that we put in more resources into this centre, if that's the decision, that it should also be like a recovery centre, if you like.
So who financially supports that process?
Council will.
Council does.
Yeah, and we'll work with council, and there is a
someone
funding
from
arrangement.
council will liaise with us with regards to those needs?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the decision. Do we actually do what would be a normal, if you like, recovery hub in this location, or do we put it somewhere else? And what you're saying is it has to be here, correct?
We agree,
But how do then we make it sustainable?
we can't
keep on doing it, so we need support
Yeah.
to keep on to welcome.
The message has been heard loud and clear. There is a roster in place I'm aware of already in talking to Fiona Swan from council as to what council support can come down here. But as I said, we might have to find some either volunteer or other resourcing to actually bolster that and make sure that you're getting the breaks and the support that you need, because I understand too that there's a need to have some trained psychosocial support pretty much every day here at this centre as well.
Yeah. I think the food for people has been fantastic. Being able to come in and get meals to take away if they had a really bad day, and that's really helped some of the people in the community. So we want help with that, to cook meals and spread them out in the community.
But on the other hand, you don't want happening after the 2009 fires where they've now still got warehouses full of donated goods that nobody wants. And so we have to be managing that very carefully.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Happy to catch up with you, Max, after the meeting. We'll have a further chat about some of those concerns. Trevor, did you want to say anything from an incident controller perspective?
We'll be okay.
Do you want me to stand up?
Thank you.
I just might add to what Paul said before. We've got lots of people out in the field doing work, trying to keep the fire within containment lines. Also got a team of people in Colac working on emergency stabilisation and recovery, so it's dealing with things like essential water replacement, water that's been taken from people's dams, stabilisation of the containment lines that are being constructed on both public and private land, and also looking at fence replacement or repair. And that the essential water is pretty straightforward. The fence replacement can be a little bit complex in understanding what you're eligible for, if you're eligible for anything. So I don't want to take up too much time in here because I'm sure you haven't all just come to be talked at, but you've got questions that you want to ask. So the other thing I would say that Paul made a comment on, there's hotspots out there and we're waiting for rain. Like I've looked at the forecast for the next few weeks and there's not a lot of rain in the forecast for the next few weeks. And I'm not really optimistic about the rainfall in the sort of medium term either. So this is going to be a long haul for our staff in the field, for you as a community. And just hope we continue to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Amanda Smith. I'm from the Gellibrand Community House Community Management as well. I think one of the things in the briefings where we've been discussing sort of local needs, one of the things that seems to me to be missing, doesn't affect me personally, but is people who are running farms and have quite a bit of pasture that they've lost. So their concerns are around pasture, water and fencing. Have I got that right? I can look around to a few people I know here who have lost quite a bit. And I wonder whether that is being dealt with on an individual basis. Is there a general approach to it? There's lots of information on the sheets that we're handing out about Blaze Aid. I know that one farmer contacted Blaze Aid and been told that they couldn't get any services till the council invited them in, etc. There's all this miscommunication that's going on for individual farmers just trying to get service to their farm. Is there a general plan to support farmers who have pasture, water, fencing needs?
I can speak to the fence replacement. So the threshold, I guess, the entry point for fence replacement or repair is if we've damaged, so that the firefighting agencies have damaged fences in cutting fences to get through, we'll join those fences back up again. If there's the private land borders, national park, state forest, or state park, that's the threshold. If it's internal fencing, then it's an insurance issue for the landholder. So, as I say, it's not all that straightforward. Like essential water, if water's been taken from the dam, landholders can either get online or fill out one of the forms that's been, I believe the forms have been here at this centre, and our staff have had them in the field talking to landholders about it. So what we do is work out how much has been taken. If it's been taken from helicopters, it's pretty easy for us to know because we can track how many pickups there have been, and then we just arrange with local government to work through with Barwon Water to replace water taken. So that's a pretty straightforward issue. In terms of pasture, that's out of my league.
Yeah, it probably falls into just quickly. Sorry, Adrian Murray from Agriculture Victoria. There's a couple of things that I've got on this flyer that you may not have seen, but There is some fodder replacement, so the immediate needs of a lot of our farmers now and for their livestock, so the fodder and the VFF and that arrangement there. So some of that sort of stuff is on this flyer. In terms of pasture, which is perhaps not now, listen to Trevor about the long-term forecast around rainfall. We're probably not prepared right now for that. But in terms of agriculture, there's a lot of extension officers within agriculture that can assist with renovation of your pastures and what species and all those sorts of things and how to go about that. Within this flyer as well, there's the disaster recovery funding arrangements. So that hasn't been talked about today, and I think Trevor was sort of touching on there, but through rural finance, I encourage you to apply to those and not self-assess whether you're eligible or not. Put your name in there and they'll decide whether you're eligible or not for these funding arrangements. So there's a couple here of grants up to $75,000 for effectively restoring operations, clean up of all the things that have happened potentially on your properties. So there's about $75,000 available for that, as well as the concessional loans up to $250,000. So both of those arrangements are there, and the details are in this sort of flyer about what that can be used for. I'm not going to speak out of school and say whether that is available for pasture renovation and seed purchases and those sorts of things, but certainly go in and apply through rural finance and you will then see whether you're eligible for some of these grants. So there is a lot of services available, and especially down the track we'll get some of our extension officers and they'll be working tirelessly, as they have done across the state and other disasters as well, to assist farmers to get back up and running and get their operations back to where they were, hopefully.
Excuse me, sorry, I have a question. So if you don't have an agricultural licence, but you have a land holding and you have horses or something like that on it, and you just outlay a whole bunch of money to sow down paddocks for pasture for your horses, and that's all gone, what happens in that situation? Is any grant covered by that?
I'm not sure, and that's why I'm sort of suggesting that we don't self-assess here, and I certainly don't self-assess your situation off that little bit there. Apply to rural finance, go onto their website, the details are all here in this flyer, and they will then work through whether you're eligible for what type of funding, what type of assistance. Even when we were talking about the water and the restoring our tanks and the gutters and all those sorts of things, there's a lot of information in here, but don't self-assess here or at your kitchen table. Put your name forward and then we'll go through the process with the actual agency that's going to assist you with that recovery need. Graham.
Adrian, when can I start cleaning up the pastures from, we've had dozers go around the whole place a couple of times and there's strips that are full width and graders from the Shire come round. When can we start cleaning that up and start putting fencing back so we can feed the cows? We've got the grass, they get out.
I'm just looking at Jen to see whether she wants to talk about this. So pastures, I don't think there's any.
No, that's fine. I'm not worried about that.
Fencing?
No, when I can start cleaning it up so I can actually fence the keep going.
So you're talking about the fencing that have been destroyed and knocked down?
It's all destroyed, but there's all this infrastructure, and every day they're going around.
Oh, sorry.
But it's taking 2/3 of our farm. It's unusual to let them have access to the whole place. So, at what stage is that going to be that we can start somehow trying to get rid of these mounds that are 2 or 3 foot high?
I'll pass that one to Trevor, and I think Paul sort of touched on it earlier around working with landholders and what we need to do and what the landholder needs to do.
Yeah, we're trying to pull together a plan of where all of that work on private property's been done. Obviously, every landholder knows where it's been done. And then we'll have a process of getting machines in to, basically straighten that back up. In terms of your fencing, again, it really depends on whether we've cut the fences or whether fire's burnt them and where that is. But if it relates to, what I'd say is you can take photos of the fences and tell us what the distance is, and you can submit those to us. You can start fixing the fences up yourself, and we'll then look at whether it fits within our remit or whether it fits in the broader remit. And what I'd suggest is, if you've got specific issues, come and see us afterwards.
So what's the time frame?
Well, we're still working on the...
I know you are, but I got time frame.
Yeah, I know. We're still working on keeping the fire
Yeah.
within the containment lines. The fire, particularly the Carlisle River Pipeline Road fire, is still contained. It's not under control. So our priority at the moment is making sure that the fire doesn't get out and damage any more country. And we're starting the process of rehabilitation. I don't know whether Paul is still here, but
No, it's in the head office.
yeah. So we've started that process, but as you'd appreciate, I guess you've got lots of on your property and everyone else's. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's all around the fire. So it's going to take us some time to get around and do all of that. So we'll be working as quickly as we can, but I can't give you a guaranteed time frame.
We'll open up to other questions. I've got a microphone, Steve's got one. Are there any other questions of any of the agencies here?
I just want to understand a little bit about what the council will be doing in terms of ensuring that conversations are had with people in safe environments. I've just had a conversation with someone outside who said his appointment after he lost his house was conducted in the foyer of the city offices. Can you just tell us how you're going to make sure people are okay in those conversations?
Yeah, no worries. We're obviously more than happy to have conversations with anyone, and we want to do that in a safe environment and a secure environment. I'm not sure about the specific example, but I'm happy to have a chat to that person. Yeah, obviously council's on the ground here at the moment. We'll have a presence here if people need to come and talk to us, as will FFH and DECA and some other agencies. We'll be here as much as the community needs us. So we're happy to have people down here and answer any questions from the community and try and feed in to the appropriate agencies where possible. So
I think it's the environment, making sure there's an environment where there's a safe conversation to be had. Our community, we have a deep sense of belonging, but we also require a lot of trust. And so having a space where people can have safe conversations where they don't feel like they're being overheard is really important. So there's somewhere in here we need to find a safe space for people to have those conversations, and the council will need to help us with that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a really good point. Really good point. We'll take that on board and make sure we've got those spaces where people can have trusted conversations.
Thank you.
We just have a little talk between the phone and out the back here and get that cleaned out, and people can have a conversation in there, confidential conversation in there. So that's one of the things we need to do.
Yeah, fantastic. And we're happy to help as much as we can.
Thank you.
The other option is to consider a ban or something that I know has been used in restricted spaces in the past. Just having somewhere that's sort of outside of where people can go in.
We've got the little hut alongside, alongside the porch.
Something was out.
We actually used it. You used it, yeah. That's perfect. We don't use it, no. Very rarely. Yeah.
Okay. Good
It's
idea.
perfect. Air conditioning, lights, TV, everything. Seats.
Yeah. No, understand, and yeah, thanks for the offer. That's great. Any other questions?
Oh, thank you. G'day, I'm Sean. I just live over there. Mine's more I wasn't here watching the fires, but it's a bit of an observation, and it's not a criticism of Bar and Water. But I think a takeaway is just over there is a sign that says, what's the terminology of it? Is it safe space or last resort?
No.
Right? And the water supply of the town is pretty important. Now, I've worked in infrastructure businesses my whole life and run companies and that sort of stuff, so it's fine to say you did a great job, which I know you would. The issue for me is we need to review the accessibility of water to this town during that type of fire and worse fire in the future. It's simply not acceptable. I hear that there's some fireproofing and ratings going on, which is terrific, but there should be N+1 or N+2 supply of town water to make sure that that space over there, because I remember last year when we were here, and there was a recovery officer here that said, hey, just over here, that's the place to go. Well, I assume that presupposes there's water coming down the main. So it's not a call for action now, but I think it's an observation that we need to take away that if this is a safe space and people do have to stay here, we need to have water here. And it's not planning for the good times, it's planning for the times when there is no water and the lines are blank. We need a thorough review of the fire assessment of the town and the accessibility to that mains water, and I think that would certainly be time well spent subsequent to all the great work that everyone's doing. So that's just my observation.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, we'll definitely take that on board. Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Have we covered remediation where the dozer work's been done for properties and that? I know you're busy working now.
I'll pass over to Trevor for that.
That's very similar to the question this chap over here had.
Oh, sorry, I slept in, I just got here.
Good on you. My response is that we're still working on keeping the fire within containment lines. We're also working on emergency stabilisation and recovery. There's a lot of containment line out there, both on public and private land. Our priority will be on the private land ahead of the public land, but we haven't really made much inroad into that yet, and we can't give a specific time frame for when we'll get to you. Can I just add, I spoke to the asset manager from Bowen Water in the office yesterday, sort of asking about the water for Gellibrand, and he was pointing out that the asset was in transition from an old asset to a new asset, and the new assets are sort of concrete reinforced and built to a bushfire attack level rating that should make them more resilient into the future. But I also understand that the site here, it's pretty tight in terms of the land that's around the Barn water site, and a fair bit of the veg that may impact on that site is on private land, and that's maybe something that, I don't know who owns that land, but maybe something that the landholder of Barn Water and the community need to think about in terms of managing the veg around that site to improve either defendability or the survivability of that infrastructure and ensure that it works into the future. And it's not only that infrastructure. When the fire was going on and I was in the incident control centre, we were talking with Telstra and Powercore about things. Are there things that are going to be really, really difficult to replace and are going to affect the recovery of the community? And there were things that had the fire been worse than it was, could have really significantly impacted not only this community but communities well beyond here, down to Apollo Bay. So it's things that we need to work together as a sector to make sure that those things are a bit more resilient than they are. So yeah, it's a point well made.
Well done. Well said. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Any other questions? Up the back.
Hey everyone, it's Johnny here. I'd just like to say that what's already been done. Am I on?
thank you thank you to our community for what you've already done for us, Jean and I, my son and his wife and the grandkids, and Dame Latiri and his family. And there, it's just been fantastic how you've come together, and I just wanted to say thank you personally, because I do see people, but there's so many of you to I was just saying, I remember in 2011 we had a thing here called Put Yourself on the Map. We did here just for this system, just for the fire, as we expected it to come through. And there's a lot of people who have moved in and out of town since then, but just the way it is now, the community is so much closer than it was even then. We know each other. Whereas one question I asked when we were doing this fire setup, sort of thing, was people kept saying, oh, the community, the community, they, And I said to the lady then, I said, who are they? Do you know them? Do we know each other? Because we were scattered around, and at the time when it happened was the people that are vulnerable, way out, east, west, and so forth. That system was made so we were aware of each other, and but now it's come to this that we are already. It's all come together, and we'll get through it and carry on. There's been different fires, different emergencies or disasters, but it's just in the 45 years we've been in town here, it's just another, I don't know, thing we're going through. And I'd like to say, my wife has been helping me, and she's doing it pretty hard. But the thing is, the future is with all this help we've got and the departments helping, we're determined to rebuild down there, because this valley, or this, I call the whole town a valley here, it is our place, and there's no place like it. Well, it might be, but I don't know about it. And it's, and it's just so unique, and we'll come back. The grass is already starting to grow down home, and bright green from where the fire made it, put the carbon into or whatever. But no, it's going to be a long journey. But the thing is, we're together with it. Sorry, I'm not speaking very eloquently. I usually talk too much. But thank you very much, and I hope you're all well.
Really well said. I think I said it earlier. This community is an amazing community, a really resilient community, and it's times like these where you see the community band together. And you see the stuff that we know. I'm from Colac. I look at this community and go, geez, it's a really strong community. But yeah, when something like this happens, you really see it come to the fore. So well said. The community will bounce back, and we'll be here every step of the way, as will the other agencies. So, the guys will continue to do what they've got to do and get this fire out, and then we're in it for the long haul to make sure this community rebuilds and continues to be as strong as ever.
Pray for rain.
Let's all pray for rain. There's nothing else. We might wrap it up, but we're all hanging around, so if you've got specific questions, come and see us.
Can you throw the floor again, though, for general questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
If any locals want to hang around and have a cup of tea and a chat, and we've got niggles and stuff today, also pumpkin soup. And Subway's generously donated some rolls for us today, and they're coming. We've had lots of donations and we've been cooking all week. So, you know, come and have a chat. We're always here.
Anything else before we wrap up? Okay, we might call it to a close. Thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, hang around, have a chat, have a cuppa or some soup, and yeah, we'll answer any questions if you have them.